evening, Pats Nation, and welcome back to another edition here on the NE Patriots Talk channel. It's your boys DTN, Dustin, and Andy back with another live stream. And today, we're gonna be doing some offensive linemen, and I think we all know for a fact that the offensive lineman is the second most important position next to quarterback, and that's what we're gonna be getting into. And then later on, we're gonna be discussing like the perfect combo given all of the listed offensive linemen that we have for the New England Patriots and find the best combo that would properly protect Drake May. So how are we doing, guys?
I'm feeling pretty solid, ready to talk some football.
How are we doing, Andy?
We're doing well, Dow. Surprisingly, after the long day of work, I'm here. I'm chipper. I haven't eaten dinner yet, but ready to chat the offensive line because I'm really interested to hear what you guys have to say and to hear what our listeners have to say. Have to ask about the upcoming offensive line because let me tell you guys, I already see a different offensive line than last year. I don't see us leading the league in offensive line combinations again. I just don't.
Hopefully we make so much improvements with the offensive line, considering that we were ranked last when it comes to the offensive line. And I just got to say, the fact that Mike Vrabel's whole goal was to build up the trenches to protect Drake May, I think he has done that. But can they prove themselves that they could translate whatever they're doing during workouts and training camp and translate that to the NFL? That's the question, considering how bad the offensive line was last season. So, given all the list, let's just bring out the list and the stats. And I want to get your thoughts on some of the offensive linemen. Let's just start with the left tackles. We all know for a fact that the left tackle position, it was the most disappointing position out of all the positions in the offensive line. So given that we have like 4 to 5 left tackles, which could you see being the starting left tackle given all of the like stats and whatnot? I'll start with you, Andy, and then I'll get to Dustin.
So I'm sorry for the chatter in the background, but looking at these stats and having run these stats and having heard Mike Vrabel, I think it is a no-brainer that William Campbell is a lock to be the starting left tackle of your and my New England Patriots in 2025. I mean, look at his overall grade. He threw down an 82.8 in 2023, a 72.2 in 2024. And if Dow, you scroll over to sacks allowed, he over his total career, I think was 4, which led the SEC over that time period. So, and it's what you heard into the lead up to the draft. And this being a position of need for the Patriots for so long. And I don't know if you guys saw the Keon White comment earlier in the main chat. It basically said, Will Campbell will not let Keon White touch Drake May. And what he said, I sound like a broken record here, but what he said after he was drafted, I'll die to protect my quarterback. We had never had an offensive lineman say that about Tom freaking Brady. So even though I didn't want him in the lead at all in the lead up to the draft, I'm really excited to watch Will Campbell and some of these other guys in the offseason.
How about you, Dustin? What are your thoughts on the left tackles given?
Yeah, there can't be no question. Unless he goes down with an injury, it's going to be Will Campbell. I mean, he's already proven it. He's shown it very well at the college level. You can see it in the stats here. Overall grades, is how many snaps alone he's gotten. Only allowed 4 sacks his entire career. What is, as far as for hits allowed, I think that totals out to 13. He doesn't let nobody get to the quarterback, not very easily, at least. I remember a couple days ago, I believe I was reading up on social media. I believe it was on X, where I seen that Will Campbell they were doing some like one-on-one drills, and Will Campbell was going up against Milton Williams. Will Campbell wouldn't even let Milton Williams by. He wouldn't let him get through. Will Campbell actually shoved Milton Williams to the ground. Like, if Milton Williams can't get by, I don't really see, and none of the other defense on our team can get by. I don't see many other players on opposing defenses that are going to be able to get around him to be able to get to Drake May. As Andy has just alluded to, from what Will Campbell said on draft night, I will fight and die to protect Drake May. I mean, he has definitely shown that in training camp. He has backed it up. He is not just talk. He is showing the walk. He has definitely proven himself to not only be a starter, but to be a franchise left tackle. This guy is going to be a tone setter on that line, and I am excited to see what he does.
Oh, I 100% agree. I would agree with that. I would prefer Will Campbell out of any of the given left tackles. And even heading into the draft, we all project Will Campbell to be like the top offensive tackle prospect coming in this 2025 NFL draft. And everybody seems to be giving him like the blue chip on his shoulder, saying like, oh, he has these T-Rex arms. He can't project to be like one of those tackles, and he is a glorified left guard, which I find that hard to believe considering of how the NFL Combine like miscalculated, or they didn't properly measure his arm length, which I find that to be stupid. And I just think that his attitude during training camp, during rookie minicamp, during the draft process, and during the combine, I just feel like you have a proven leader. And Mike Vrabel said he will bring in leaders that would follow the program. And I think that if he stays healthy and if he can go up against some of the top edge rushers in the league, he can definitely be a Pro Bowler and an All-Pro at best.
Yeah. This guy, Dow and Dustin, he is every literal and figurative inch a Patriot. I mean, you heard him after he was drafted. And I forget what my overall point was going to be. Oh, yeah. His arm measurement came in at like 32 5/8 for the combine, and magically was 33 or 33.1 at his pro day. I mean, your arms don't magically grow between the combine and your pro day. I mean, so that was probably I don't know, must have been a mess up by possibly, like you alluded to, Dow, a mess up by the NFL to make him look bad. And, one of the guys in the chat told me about how he played in 2022 he shut down Jared Verse, D-Roy from 2024. So yeah, this kid's a dog, absolute dog.
So speaking of Will Campbell, if there's a possibility he goes down with the injury and you need some depth at left tackle, who do you think, given the rest of the left tackles, who do you think should be who should be like behind Will Campbell as like his second stringer? I'll start with you, Andy.
That requires us to look at the data again. If you wouldn't mind scrolling, no, that's right tackle, don't mind me. Backup left tackle here. I would probably, to avoid hybrids, go Marcus Bryant out of SMU/Missouri. He had his 2024, he threw down a 76 overall grade. And if you can scroll back up, I think that's his pass on the right and his run on the left. Those blocking grades are really good. I mean, they're not Will Campbell's, but I mean, this guy, and he wasn't Will Campbell either in allowing, he allowed, 11 sacks over his college career versus Will Campbell's 4. But I definitely think he could be and his total snaps. I mean, he is a pure left tackle, and a big guy too. If you guys could look up his weight, I think he's bigger than Will Campbell. But yeah, I'd like to see him as the backup left tackle.
How about you, Dustin?
I'd probably, I'd probably have to go with Marcus Bryant as well, just because from what I'm seeing on the stat line, he's a pure left tackle. He's played the position through all 4 years of his college level. He doesn't look the most impressive, but he's definitely a solid backup. As of right now, he can definitely be a solid backup. If we're looking for somebody with experience that has been in the league, or somebody who's had a couple years into the league, I know it's a transition. I know the whole left tackle and right tackle thing. It's a transition for any players who played a tackle position. We already know this. But he has done it before. From what I'm seeing on stat line, he has done it before. I would maybe move Morgan Moses over to the left tackle and then put somebody like a Demontre Jacobs over at right tackle. Mainly just because it gives you that veteran presence there, someone who's been in the league and has played at a position. And the left tackle, the reason people value the left tackle so much, for people who don't really understand it that well, most quarterbacks are mostly right-handed. And when you think of a quarterback dropping back, it's usually their left shoulder forward, their right shoulder back. Their back is facing the left side of the line. So if you have an inexperienced guy on that left side who's not good on the NFL level, if Drake May ain't able to pay attention that well, or if he's getting rushed too quick and is able to pick it up on time, he's getting hit. He's getting hit. No matter how quick he is, no matter how well his awareness is, he's going to get hit. Now, do I think if it's like maybe just a little strain, he's out for a couple snaps and goes back in, yeah, Marcus Bryant. If it's going to be a more long-term, like a couple games, like a good, 3 or 4 games, I'd maybe move Morgan Moses over there just so I have somebody that can protect that left side, so Drake May isn't as vulnerable on that side and he doesn't have to pay so much attention, where he can actually take the time to read the receivers downfield and get the ball out of there instead of having to rush it and like running out of the pocket, possibly getting himself injured in the process. That's my process on it, though. That's just how I look at it. Everybody's going to have their own different opinion on it, but that's how I look at it.
Interesting. Before we get into my take on who I think should be the backup, make sure everybody, as you join in, please make sure to subscribe, like this stream as you come in, and also bring in your questions, because once you bring in your questions, we at least have a discussion to go off of. So instead of Collins, which worked well last live stream, I think that bringing in your questions in the chat will help us bring us like a true discussion for us three, me, Dustin, and Andy. But going back to the backup left tackle, I would agree that I think that Marcus Bryant could be like a backup left tackle. I do understand your point, Dustin, about like bringing Morgan Moses as to switch him over to left tackle, considering that you need some experience at an NFL level. My only concern is that the majority of the time, Morgan Moses has played on the right side, so that kind of hurts him a little bit. But then again, Marcus Bryant at a top tier level, he has played alongside Armand Membu, who has been drafted by the Jets, and he was projected to be like one of the top offensive tackles. So basically, Marcus Bryant has been part of one of the top offenses in college football. So at least you have some experience at left tackle. I just felt like when Mike Vrabel and Elliott Wolf and Ryan Cowden were doing the draft process, I didn't expect them to go and bring in another left tackle, but it made me a little more happy considering that we brought in depth at left tackle, just so that if Will Campbell goes down, we don't have to like bring in Vidarian Lowe, who we all know has been one of the more hated Patriots players that we have ever brought in. So I'm glad that we at least brought in some depth just in case if Will Campbell goes down, and I don't wish injury upon anybody. No. But let's now head over to the left guard position, and we all know that the left guard is questionable considering that the Patriots did not draft did not draft a left guard or even like sign a left guard during free agency or the draft. So like starting with you, Andy, who do you think should start at left guard?
Left guard. Okay, if you wouldn't mind scrolling down. I was going to add 2 cents on Vidarian Lowe, but I don't think you guys are interested, and I will put it in the chat later on. So we'll focus on guards now. I'm sorry, you said left guard, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Scroll down. I'm still only at Cole Strange here. Oh, those are centers. Ugh, oof. So for starting left guard, this is really interesting. Did I put Jack Conley in there somewhere? Where is he?
Oh, Jack Conley.
Yeah. Oh, there he is. Oh, right. Oh, sugar peas. But yeah, I don't know where to go with left guard here. I mean, I probably, as much as I don't trust him, I'd lean Cole Strange. Even though he did not have McDaniels as an offensive coordinator. He jumped from a 54-6 to a 64-6 the last time he played at left guard, although his grade his snaps pretty much halved. But looking at these guys, I mean, I don't want Wes Schweitzer. We could go Layden Robinson. Just because, he got the short end of, I'm sorry if I'm going too far long, but we could go with Layden Robinson. Just take do a double take on the snaps. Is either of you on PFF?
No.
Shoot. Let me just really get my phone real quick, okay? I'll be right back.
Well, Andy's busy. What are your thoughts on the left guard position, Dustin?
That is probably going to be the one position that we really have the most difficulties with as far as getting like a solidified starter. If I had to go off the top of my head and say someone like just out of all we have, it would probably be Cole Strange. I mean, he's been here. He's had some snaps at the left guard. I'm pretty sure we drafted him as a left guard, and I mean he's done okay. Hasn't been the greatest. He did have that pretty significant, I believe it was a concussion or some sort of significant injury last year, and I kind of put him out a good little bit, or it was 2023, I believe, and it carried over to 2024. I'm not really confident in the whole left guard position just because of what we got. We got like Cole Strange, Layden Robinson, maybe City So. I just for the sake of like who's been here, who has the snaps, who has the experience, probably going to be Cole Strange.
Yeah.
Now, if somebody can show out at the left guard position when we get further into training camp, if somebody could show out a better performance than Cole Strange, I'm all for seeing it. I mean, I'm the left guard is the one spot that I wish they could have addressed.
Correct.
Somewhere in the draft. They couldn't really do it. Granted, I'm glad with what they got. They got some good offensive linemen through the draft. It's just the left guard was the one thing they kind of left out. I'd probably go Cole Strange just for the snap sakes. He's had the experience there. He's drafted out as a left guard. I'd probably just throw him there for right now. And if somebody beats him out of it, awesome. If somebody doesn't, he'll be our starter. That's my take on it.
Yeah, I'm going to second you now, Dustin, because I'm looking at Layden Robinson's snaps from last year. They were pretty much even at left guard and right guard. So you could use him almost as a swing guard. I don't know. Not many teams play swing guards as far as I know, but yeah, just looking at that right now. I mean, even though he did get the short end of the stick in 2024, and I'm not a huge fan of this other guy who was an undeserving 29th overall pick out of Chattanooga, you'd have to lean Cole Strange on this one.
The one thing about the left guard position, and I was gonna say Cole Strange, but the problem with him is his durability. And considering that he has been injury prone to God knows how long, I just felt like the left guard position heading into the draft, it has to be one of the more sneaky positions when it comes to like needs. Like heading toward the 2025 draft, we all projected the left tackle, wide receiver 1, and edge to be as the main important needs heading into the 2025 NFL draft. But people don't realize that left guard could have possibly be a sneaky need, considering that there were so many questions at left guard coming out of last season. So I felt like, given of the depth that we have at left guard, it's gonna be a head scratcher, considering of that. I do not want to see Cole Strange because of how injury prone this man is. And then when it comes to City So, this guy, he was okay at left guard. But the problem with him is he's more of a Belichick guy at this point, because I don't know how good City So is now compared to what he was back then. But if I were to take a look, I would have to put in Layden Robinson for the sake of it. Like, I get it, he was a rookie and he had a fair share of issues, but I don't want to see Cole Strange snapping again. And thank goodness he is not getting like a 5th-year option, because I would have been really upset if we gave him like a 5th-year option and he doesn't perform well. So for me, it's Layden Robinson being like your left guard. And I can't think of like who should be like behind him if left guard, if Layden Robinson goes down. But excuse me.
Left guard is just a tricky position right now. We didn't really address it too much in free agency. We didn't address it at all in the draft. I mean, I'm only going Cole Strange just because he's had the time there. I mean, I don't like the injury history any more than you do, but I'm just going with the history there. He's had the time there. All these other guys are either like too young or just, and all, not to disrespect anybody, but they're not good enough to be starters. I don't see it. But I mean, I do get your side. Cole Strange is a liability on the offensive line with his durability. It would definitely suck to have him start, and then like a couple weeks on the start of the season, he takes an injury, and then that kind of, then we're looking at another, not necessarily a combination, but a different person there that may not have reps with the starting line. But it's a sticky situation. It's not the best situation all around. Maybe they address it sometime in the season. I don't know. I don't like it, but we'll just have to see how it goes.
Yeah, we went from having pretty much, except for quarterback, every offensive position last season was going with the lesser of two evils. Now, pretty much only your right guard, your left guard is the lesser of two evils, and it's between Cole Strange and Layden Robinson. I mean, you don't really know who Layden Robinson is yet. And again, Mr. Broken Record here, it's a waiting game through the offseason. Could he get more reps than Cole Strange? Could he, I don't know. But yeah, I think when push comes to shove, it's going to be Strange getting the reps with the ones beginning of training camp.
Yeah, I just felt like ever since 2020, ever since the loss of Joe Thuney, the left guard position has been really inconsistent, going from like, I think it was Ted Karras to then Cole Strange to then City So to then Michael Jordan to then Layden Robinson. I just felt like ever since the departure of Joe Thuney, and I think that letting go Joe Thuney was, I think, the worst decision ever, because I think Joe Thuney, if we gave him like a 5-year extension or God knows how much, we would have solidified at left tackle. But I just didn't understand why Joe Thuney was hit free agency and then snatch away in free agency. But I just feel like this left guard position has to be one of the more questionable seasons heading into the off season, and I just feel like we need to see how well the left guard position goes. And Jonathan brings up a interesting point about Leighton Robinson. He says that I think Leighton Robinson still has some potential as a left guard, but he needs to stay healthy. Robinson is 2 years younger than Strange, and so what are your guys' thoughts on that?
I mean, yeah, he does have potential. He's definitely shown that he can play the position. It's like you said, he needs to be able to stay healthy. The years younger is also a plus. I mean, he definitely has more time to grow and whatnot. But it's just the fact that he hasn't had a whole lot of time yet. Maybe coming into this off season, having that full off season of practice, being around this new staff, maybe he's getting more encouragement. Maybe he's getting taught better. Actually, I can't even remember at the top of my head. Who is our O-line's coach?
Scott Peters.
Scott Peters. Do we know much about him? Because I don't.
I don't know much about him either. Like I was like doubtful about Scott Peters as an offensive line coach, considering that what was it? He I thought that he was gonna be so about Scott Peters, he was the assistant offensive line coach for the Cleveland Browns, and he has experience playing at the offensive line position. He played for the Eagles, Giants, 49ers, then 2 seasons with the Panthers, and then 2 seasons with the Cardinals. But as a coach, he has been the offensive line coach for the Cleveland Browns behind gosh, I don't know who the let me just find out who the offensive line coach for the Cleveland Browns was, because it could give me a clear idea who the offensive line coach for the Cleveland Browns was, considering how well the Cleveland Browns did with offensive line. It was Bill Callahan. So Scott Peters was the assistant for Bill Callahan, who was like one of the best offensive line coaches, and he is now the Bill Callahan is now with the Tennessee Titans. So now that we have Doug Marrone as our offensive line coach, you at least have some experience head for the offensive line coaching. I know that he was let go in New Orleans for some ungodly reason, but I think that Doug Marrone can shape and see how these offensive linemen are properly developed.
I think if these coaches can teach up some of our younger guys and actually show them some good techniques, help them with protection, help them with the hands, and all that good stuff. If he can teach them well and he shows it out in that practice field, I wouldn't mind seeing Leighton Robinson start. I really wouldn't. But it's just a matter of is he going to be able to show it? Can he show what he's taught and actually put it out on the field? And can he stay healthy? That'll also come with the staff as well. Can they help him get healthy or stay healthy? Can they help him with his conditioning, help him with his, I don't know, maybe his diet needs to be changed up. Maybe he needs to be stretching more. Maybe something at home is kind of like kept bugging him a little bit as far as it could be a number of things. But
Yo, guys, it's beyond me why New Orleans let him go too, because I thought this and I was right. He was not the offensive line coach. He was the head coach of the Jacksonville Jaguars when they nearly beat us in the 17-18 AFC Championship game.
I remember
their head coach was Doug Marrone. So I think that and he got super pissed on the sideline after, that whole Gronk, PI, and the Jacksonville guy hit Gronk's helmet head on. But I'm really psyched to have Marrone as the offensive line coach. He is a tough cookie, and could really whip some of these guys into shape. So
Did you know that before he was the head coach for the Jacksonville Jaguars, he was also the head coach for the Buffalo Bills?
Really? Oh, I was just looking at him.
Huh.
But
Doug Marone was?
yes.
Was that
Marone
after
Marone was with the Bills as a head coach for 2 seasons, 13-14. Yeah.
that had to have
you're right.
been what, after Rex Ryan then maybe?
This was before Rex Ryan.
Before Rex Ryan, okay. And also, real quick before we do move on, this comment from Jonathan Watson, the latest one. I also wonder if Doug Marone as O-line coach has any impact on conditioning, aka ability to stay healthy. That's going to be more like strength and conditioning coaches. I don't know all at the top of my head, but that's going to be more on their end. That's going to be them helping them with stretching, making sure that they're getting into the weight room, making sure they're lifting good, making sure their techniques are good, making sure their diet's good. They'll have to work with Doug Marone. Yes, they will need to work together in order to make sure they're getting done what they need done. But it's going to be more on like their strength and conditioning coaches as well as like the staff that like their medical staff and stuff like that.
I know for a fact, because going off of the conditioning before we head over to the center position, we all know that the facility it was bad. Like, let me just check the Patriots report card on the strengthening conditioning, because we all know that the Patriots, their grade on the weight room and the training staff was not good. The weight room, they got an F. They were dead last when it comes to the weight room. They were 26th when it comes to strength coaches, and then when it comes to the training staff, it was a C+, ranked 26th, and it was a C-, it was ranked 30th out of all of the coaching teams. So, considering that we're definitely going to have a brand new facility or training facility or weight room for the New England Patriots, that's definitely going to boost up like the offensive players, all of the players in general, and will definitely boost up the report card.
That's supposed to start. Is that supposed to start in 2026, or that should be done by 2026? I can't remember which. I think it was supposed to start on 2026 as far as like the facilities and whatnot. I want to say, I think I read something about it. Like, I think at the end of the regular season last year, if I'm not mistaken.
I'm looking it up, and they said, and it says that the building's construction is slated to be finished by next year in 2026.
Okay.
It's completed by spring of 2026. Yeah, that's what this says right here.
But yeah, this is something that we may want to look into, considering of how bad the training facility was and the strengthening was, and why the durability of all these players have been so poor. But
right.
Let's move on to the head over to the centers. And center, we all thought that we knew for a fact that center would be a sneaky position, considering that we did release David Andrews because of his injury concern, plus Mike Vrabel wants his own players instead of Belichick's players, so he doesn't want any of that hint of Belichick's players. So that's why we decided to bring in 3 new centers. So looking at all of the centers that we have, Andy, who do you think should be the starting center for week 1?
Starting center for week 1. Okay, this is a really, really good question, though, because you have Garrett Bradbury, who is entering his 29th year in the NFL. He spent, I believe, his entire career, or 28th year in the NFL. I should say his 29th. Jeez, I don't know what I'm saying. He is going to be beginning his. He was drafted in 2019, 1921, 2, 3, 4. So, yeah. So, 1921, 2, 3, 4.
6th year, I think?
Is his 7th year. This will be his 7th year in the NFL, and he was drafted, obviously, by the Minnesota Vikings. So, he is a 6-year NFL veteran with, obviously, a lot of experience. 1,082 snaps, 883, 809, 874, 1117. He is a center. He's a pure center. And then you've got that guy out of Georgia. I watched I believe he ran a 4.86 or 4.89 at the combine. And I was like,
wait, back up. Did I hear that
Jared.
right? Say that again.
What?
He ran a what?
I was either a 4.86 or a 4.89. His combine speed was crazy
For a
fast.
big boy. For a big boy, yeah.
For an O lineman, yes. And I was like, I want that guy to be a Patriot. No, even faster. He officially clocked in at a 4.84. A 4.84. Guys.
Oh my gosh.
Jared Wilson, this is a center. He weighs freaking 310 pounds and he's 6'3". He runs a 5.84 at the combine. I'm like, if I don't, I want him. And, we traded down not once, but twice. 18 total spots. And we still got him. I mean, how did this guy fall that quickly? It's not like 79.6. It was his first season as a pure center. He threw down a 79.6 overall grade. His pass was an 84.6. His run was a 78.6. That's beyond solid. And if you wouldn't mind scrolling over to sacks and hits for me, please and thank you. 0.05. I mean, he's a center, but so sacks and hits are not as major as they are for tackles. But I mean, when you look at up there at Garrett Bradbury there, it was, I think, if I'm remembering correctly, 6 hits and 4 sacks. I mean, that's not very good for such a long-time veteran. So, normally I'd say go with a veteran over the rookie. Here, I'm going to say Jared Wilson is my center number 1. 100%.
How about you, Dustin?
Okay. I do understand where you're coming from, Andy, as far as the whole Jared Wilson. He's definitely shown it. He's definitely shown the skill, the ability, the talent. He has shown it. I do believe he has a chance to be a starting center for this team. But this year, the reason why I'm going to say this, I don't think it's going to be this year, or at least not right away. Garrett Bradbury, not only does he have the veteran experience, granted, hasn't done the greatest from what I'm seeing, like overall grade. We can see it here on the list. I mean, 61.4, 60.2, 70.2. It's definitely not been the greatest, but he's solid. He's dependable. I don't think he has too many questions as far as health. But the one thing that kind of makes me think it's going to be at least just this year for Garrett Bradbury, I looked up his contract. I actually just looked it up. He's on a 2-year deal. He's only on a 2-year deal, guys, for $9.5 million. It's not a big contract. We could get out of that this year if we really wanted to. But the way I see it, not only does he offer that veteran presence, he could be that gap guy for Jared Wilson to not be thrown into the offensive line like right away. He can take the time with the staff, with the team, with the O-line, develop more on his ability, more on his skill set, more on just his overall athletic ability, and actually really build that into a true NFL prospect. Because we can see in the stats right here, in total snaps played, he started out slow, but yes, he did have that big jump in 2024 in 674 snaps. But very, very minimal the first 3. He had that one big jump in 2024. I feel like the smart idea, and this is just my opinion, I think the smart idea would just have let Garrett Bradbury start the season, let Jared Wilson learn from Garrett Bradbury, learn from the staff, learn from the team, it just in general, build up on his talent, build up his IQ, become an even better player than he already is. I'm not saying he's not, because he's definitely a damn good player. But build on that. Let him build. Let him build. Let him have that year to build and become something even more unique. And even if he shows it at some point during the start of the season, or if he shows it in training camp, by all means, tell me to shut up and just put him out there already. But it just makes too much sense to me to just let Garrett Bradbury at least start the season there and let Jared Wilson develop into that dog that he can be, that he's already shown us he can be, and just let him learn. Let him be that guy. We get caught up in these rookies just being like so skillful, so athletic, so determined to get out there. And there's times that we see that happen, and then they just flop because they don't have the time to learn. They're thrown into the fire. Not saying he's getting thrown into the fire now, because, I mean, we have a way better staff. They'd definitely be able to coach him better. But I would definitely love to see him get taught up at least a little bit longer throughout the season. And then maybe in half the season he gets thrown out there. That's perfectly fine. I want him to learn a little bit more and develop a little bit more to become that absolute freaking dog that he has shown that he can be, to where nobody on that D-line, whoever he faces against, is going to be able to stop him. That's my take.
Interesting. And let me just get into one of Jonathan's points before I can get my take and my question. So Jonathan points out that he's also a bit bigger than David Andrews. And like Andrews, he also only had 1 year starting at Georgia. But Wilson is more athletic. What are your guys' thoughts on that?
I'll let you go ahead and take this first, Andy.
Yeah, thanks, Moonshine. Bigger than David Andrews. Interesting. I do like the this is validating. I'm sorry, Moonshine. This is validating my idea that Wilson should start. I like the idea of an athletic center.
I do too.
If I hope I'm not sounding completely ridiculous here, but that takes the pressures off of your pressure off of your guards and your tackles. If you've got a speedy center, and you know, a guy who can, you know, move around more. I don't want to say move around the O-line formation, because the guy really can't do that. But he can easily, you know, take his stance, get out of his stance if he needs to. But yeah, I mean, yeah, the 1 year starting at Georgia is, I don't want to say a red flag, but it's the one thing that would make me slightly tentative about starting him. But yeah, that comment is not swaying me from wanting to, with Doug Marrone as your O-line coach and with Josh McDaniels as your offensive coordinator in his third stint as a Patriot, that's not swaying me off of starting Jared Wilson.
My thought process about this, taking your ideas, Andy, and Mooch and Dustin's ideas, what if the Patriots do what the Eagles did when it came to like Jason Kelce, and then whoever took over for Jason Kelce, Cam Jerkins? Could there be a possibility that you could have Bradbury starting at center, and then you could put Jared Wilson playing at guard? That way you at least have some time to develop.
Yeah, 100%, man. I think I even read a couple of people say, you know, because you're so thin, especially at right guard, you know, see if he can train Wilson to play that position and have Bradbury, the veteran, be your starting center. That's not a, yeah, I see your point out. That's not stupid at all.
I definitely see it as well. I mean, he's hasn't had many games, but he has experience there at the right guard. It would make sense for him. He could also have that side by side learning, actual ability to learn. Granted, he's going to have his own assignment he's got to do, but he would have some actual one-on-one coaching on the offensive line in an actual game with Garrett Bradbury, who's had, what was it, 7 years, Andy, he's been in the league? I just
7 seasons,
It's 6. It's 1921, 2, 3, 4. He's been in 6. This will be his
Okay.
7th season.
I feel like that would just increase his ability to learn. I mean, it would give him more. It would give him a position he started in, give him somewhere where he can learn side by side with Garrett. If he's struggling with something with assignment, Garrett might catch on it and say like, "Hey, maybe do this instead," or maybe, "Hey, don't just brush it off. You're not going to win them all." And just give him that encouragement, give him that knowledge. I'd see a world where that could actually happen. That makes a good bit of sense to me.
Yeah, even though Garrett Bradbury, he was like okay as a center in Minnesota. That's why they let him go, and that's why Minnesota replaced Garrett Bradbury with Brian Kelly, who was the center for the Indianapolis Colts. We all know for a fact that his pass blocking has been, let's just say, below average, but his run blocking has been at least above average. If there's a possibility that we run the ball most of the time, there's a chance that Garrett Bradbury could play up to his strengths, and that the offensive line, when it comes to the run game, it's going to be a lot better. Even though the pass game, it's a little bit scary for me. As long as Doug Marrone can properly, push him to be like where he needs to be at a high level, I think he could get there. Even though he's been a veteran for like at least 6 to 7 years, this is actually going to be great. Being tutored under Doug Marrone, who I think is one of the best offensive line coaches. But let's now shift over to, I think we already have this solidified, and which is at right guard. So starting with you, Andy, I already know the answer, but who do you think should start at right guard?
You already know the answer. Okay. Okay, if you wouldn't mind, it's brother. Scroll up, please, and thank you. Yeah, it's gonna be Mike Onwenu. You see that 5 years of Patriot. He had that. It's not a nosedive, but his second highest number of snaps, but worst season last year in terms of overall grade. His pass blocking, I see, actually went a little bit up, but his run blocking did nosedive. I mean, you're looking at 84.9, 89.8, low 70s to a 57.5. I mean, that's what, and that was with Alex Van Pelt as your offensive coordinator. I mean, that's how bad Gerard Mayo was as a head coach. When you have this O lineman drop from a pass blocking grade of, or let me look at that again. Oh geez, I'm tired. Yeah, drop from a run blocking grade of 72.2 to 57.5. His pass block actually ticked up a little bit, and he also allowed 6 hits. That's the most he's ever allowed. So, but now that he's got Marrone, now that he's got McDaniels back, I mean, look at 2021 was his last season under McDaniels, is when he threw down that 89.8 run blocking grade. Both of those 80s came under McDaniels. So, no brainer, 110%, Michael Onwenu is your starting right guard. I know invariably people have kvetched about his weight for the past couple of years. Oh, he looks big stepping onto the field. He's an old lineman, for the love of God. I mean, they're big guys.
They're meant to be big guys.
Exactly. I mean, so what if his belly grew? He's on, like I said, he's an offensive lineman. So no brainer. Who's that guy I'm looking at though? Oh, that's who that is. Yeah, you're starting right guards, Mike Onwenu. No bones about it, Mike Onwenu.
How about you, Dustin?
Yeah, I'd have to agree on that wholeheartedly. I think Mike Onwenu, especially with the fact that we have Mike McDaniels back to when the couple years that Mike Onwenu had Josh McDaniels, he obviously had great, maybe not so good in pass blocking, but he had it great in run blocking. And under Josh McDaniels, we know him as offensive coordinator. He likes to run the ball. He likes those heavy set formations. I do see us running the ball a lot more, and I think Mike Onwenu on that inside at the right guard, I do believe he could be that tone setter on the inside to really help us get that push to get us some good yards, especially up the middle. Because granted, we didn't run the ball well anyway in any way, but as far as on the inside runs, I do believe, especially on that right side, Michael Onwenu is definitely going to be able to open up some holes for us. He's got the veteran presence. He's been, I think now he's one of the longest standing Patriots we have now. He's just been an overall solid guy. I don't really remember the last time we really actually had a problem with Mike Onwenu. He's one of our vets. He's one of our solid guys. He's played a lot of snaps here with us. I don't see a world where he doesn't start somewhere on this O-line, and if it's anywhere, it's probably going to be at that guard position. Left or right, we don't know, but I do think it's going to be right guard 100%.
Yeah, ditto. Yeah, Dow, if you could just look up what that deal we gave on Onwenu a year ago was, because I just can't remember deals to save my life. But we did re-up him a year ago.
I'll take a look at his contract, because I know it was a 3-year deal worth $57 million. So basically he has one more year on his deal, which is in 2026, and then he hits free agency.
So you said a 3-year deal. He has 2 more, counting 2025.
Counting 2025.
Correct. 2 more years. Yes.
Mm-hmm. So the thing with Michael Onwenu, I just don't understand what the heck happened, even during Bill Belichick's regime. And under AVP, I just don't get it. Like, you shifted over to right tackle just because there were so many question marks at right tackle, because there was a vacant hole at right tackle, because the right tackle position, it had to be one of the more disappointing positions next to left tackle. But with Michael Onwenu, I think that during his first or 2 seasons, if I'm not mistaken, he played at left guard, and he was horrible as a left guard, if I'm not mistaken. And then there were moments where he played as a swing tackle or a swing guard in some moments. But then when he shifted over to right guard under Matt Patricia, for goodness sakes, I don't want to say his name, but he looked really well. And for some reason, I don't know why he shifted over to right tackle, just because he had so much unknowns at right tackle. But now that you have answers at right guard, not right tackle, excuse me, you can switch back to right guard. But I think that Jonathan brings up a good point that I think I know why, is that I remember that in 2024, when we started the first 4 games at right tackle, then when we switched back to right guard, to multiple injuries on the offensive line. That just says, again, the strengthening coaches could be a possibility for why there's so many injuries. But then again, you can't blame on the strength coach, because they're doing their diligent work. I just think that Michael Onwenu at the right side, he has been one of the more consistent. Even though he had his worst season, I just felt like he has been he's been like one of those key players who I think has been really consistent at the right side. So
he actually played the bulk of those 2020 snaps at right tackle. 616. I said lineman there, but his total snaps at guard were 297, 112 at left guard, 185 at right guard. So his second highest snaps in 2020 were at right guard. I mean, they dwarfed his right tackle numbers, but I mean, it sounds like, again, you like you said, Belichick got that bee in his bonnet that he was a tackle. When clearly you move him over to guard, and he plays 75 to 90 times better at right guard. So, yeah, I think McDaniels knows what to do with him. I think Marrone knows what to do with him. And we'll see another good year from Mike Onwenu.
And as always, we're going to talk, and I'm going to ask you guys, who do you think the backup right guard should be if there's a point where Mike Onwenu is unavailable for some reason?
I'm going to say Conley. I'd really say Jack Conley. I mean, he's got the actually, I'm thinking of somebody else. maybe Jack Conley. We were talking a little bit about Jared Wilson. I mean, maybe he could fill in if something does happen with Michael Winner. He is that dog there. Jack Conley's got the experience there from college. Granted, his grades aren't exactly the best. I wouldn't be comfortable too much. If he's having to stay there long term, I wouldn't be comfortable with it. But if it's like for a couple snaps or something, maybe he's got like a little tweak and he has to sit out for a couple minutes and come back in. That might be okay with Jack Conley. But as far as like for long term, I'd probably do Jared Wilson just because he's got the athleticism, he's got the ability, he's got some time at right guard. I'd say between one of those two. Is there anybody I'm missing though? Wes Schweitzer. I mean, I don't really know too much about this guy.
Wes Schweitzer, he was good with the Atlanta Falcons, and then he fell off the face of the planet. And then when he went into the Jets,
I'm seeing that he just like doesn't
snap.
have many games like played. Is it like I'm guessing due to injury? I don't know for sure.
I think it was due to an injury.
If you wouldn't mind scrolling down on Schweitzer, then we get that whole thing.
Because Schweitzer, he started majority of this time with the Atlanta Falcons. But then for some reason, when he went with the Commanders, he was okay. But then with the Jets, I don't know. Probably because he was like a backup right guard to Elijah Vera Tucker, if I'm not mistaken. Because I think Elijah Vera Tucker was the starting right guard, and he was meant to be like the backup in place of to take care of AVT.
Dow, let me give you 5 words. The Jets are the Jets. and yes, they have Elijah Vera Tucker, who's one of the better
right guards.
He's one of the better right guards in the league. Exactly. But they are the Jets, after all. And I remember you, Dow, kind of being kvetchy about you floated Wes Schweitzer on the O-line at OTAs. I mean, again, I like Jack Conley. He's out of BC. I mean, his grade wasn't the best in 2024. His run block was never above a 6. Actually, no, he did have that 67.4. But then other than that, it was pretty much 60 or lower. And then pass blocking, he never beat 61.4. Schweitzer is streaky looking at these numbers right now, really streaky. It just basically went downhill in pass blocking, and on run blocking is really streaky. So I mean, I can't go as far as calling him right guard too. I wish I could, but I can't. I mean, like you said, he did, fall off the cliff in terms of snap. He fell off the cliff in terms of snaps.
Yeah.
With the Jets. I mean, that
and games, games he wasn't even.
I'm very close to giving Schweitzer the benefit of the doubt over Conley, but
the thing with Schweitzer is that
this is a coin flip for me, guys. I can't lie.
Actually, would it be maybe City So? I mean, because I'm also reading Jonathan Watson's latest comment here. City So played right guard his rookie year and appeared in 15 games and started 13 at right guard in 2023 and 2024. I mean, maybe he'll be the backup. The way I'm looking at it right now is just like the way my mind is working. If it's for a couple minutes, maybe a winner just needs stretch a little injury out, maybe twisted something, just needs a couple minutes to get his legs back in order, maybe press his hand too hard on a block and he just needs a minute to shake it out. Maybe Jack Conley just goes in there for just a couple snaps. If it's more long term, I'd probably actually go City So.
Dal, can I just
Jared
see
Wilson if he actually shows the ability.
Thank you.
With City So, I know that he was okay as a guard. I just don't. I think when he played left tackle, he was a disaster at tackle. But we can. I just think that whoever the offensive line coach was, if I'm not mistaken, in Colby's video on the drama,
Scott Peters, right? The O-line coach last year.
He was last year's, yeah. He was
I was
last
referring
year's.
to the year before Scott
Oh.
Peters. I don't know who it was, but I know that for some reason he went at it at Matt Groh for some reason because of the talent that he had, and I know for a fact that for some reason that guy who I forgot. Oh, Adrian Clem. That was the offensive line coach before Scott Peters. He was supposed to develop the new offensive line for the new style, but the problem is, I think we had Trent Brown as our left tackle. They went
Everybody liked it when we brought in Clem, and then it turned out to be kind of a bust.
It was a disaster. Thinking that all 5 of them used the Dante Scarnecchia style, and I'm like, what? I 2023 was a mess, and I know City So was part of that. Was the victim of the disaster. Let's just say that.
And also Trent Brown is just, when he's good, he's very, very, very good. When he's good, he's excellent. When he's bad, he is horrid. And you just like when you put Trent Brown onto the field and he doesn't play well, you might as well throw a rock out there at right tackle.
Yeah. But man, I just don't. But now that we at least have more depth at right guard than left guard. But if you switch over to like putting one position at left guard, then I don't know. But you at least have some depth at right guard. That's the best part. Like you can put in like Jarrett Wilson, like I said before, develop. But I was thinking of like putting Jarrett Wilson at left guard, even though he has never had experience at left guard. So I see the point that he could be like a backup right guard, considering that if Later Robinson plays at left guard, you could put Jarrett Wilson at right guard. If Michael Onwenu, for some reason, had some tweaks here and there with his body, but
that would also free up City So to be there for a left guard if something happens to Cole Strange again.
I think that we have time for a lot. So as you come in, guys, remember, make sure to like, comment, subscribe. Make sure to put in your questions. I'm liking how Jonathan's the only one put in like the comments and questions. That's the good way to like bring in the discussion. So please continue to do that. But
we appreciate it, Jonathan. We love you. Please keep the comments and questions going. We love it. And also, before we continue on, please, guys, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, get this page out. Please just share with your friends, family, share with other Patriots fans. We love talking to you guys. We love spending this time on Saturdays just talking Patriots football. Please get this video out there.
Again, obviously, shout out to our boy Austin Lawai Sage. We hope you're listening, that we're doing okay. That you're doing okay, man. Have a good day off, and we'll see you in the next stream.
Thank you as always. But Jonathan brings up another good point as we praise him. He said the New England Patriots offensive line coaching in 2022 was handled by Matt Patricia. then in 2023, it was Adrian Clem. It was pretty awful, to be honest.
Let's not bring up those years ever again, please.
Those were the worst years the Patriots have had since.
I will forever work to purge those from my memory forever.
Same.
Since the 90s. You could say, he's one of those guys. He worked reasonably well as a DC, as a coordinator, period. As a head coach. Your Patricias, your Salas, your McDaniels. You don't want, Dow, it was you who brought it up. Neither you nor I would have minded seeing Mayo as a defensive coordinator. But,
But this is just Belichick being stubborn.
Exactly. Belichick, somebody said this. It's been my point for years that he refused to adapt to the modern NFL. Somebody was bucking that the other day. I'm not sure who, but I'm still sticking by that. And I was talking with one of my coworkers today about Mike Vrabel. And it was how he was much more similar to Parcells than to Belichick. And I forget exactly what it was, but I think it had to do with relationships to players. No, it had to do with or maybe it had to do with accountability.
Oh yeah,
Belichick was just he acted like he was into accountability, but he wasn't. I mean,
he was just more of a
benching
sergeant.
benching players, drill sergeant, exactly. Benching players is not taking accountability for your actions. It just isn't. I wish I could remember that point because it was so, so, so good. But alas, it's been a long day, and here we are.
Yeah. Oh, Jonathan brings up another point, and then we'll head over to right tackles to conclude the stream. So he said that Scott Peters was okay in 2024, but the O-line had a lot of injuries. But I think Doug Marrone has the chance to be really good for us. Maybe not at Scarnecchia level, but still. Yeah,
nobody's going to be as good as Scar. No, I'm sorry, nobody's going to be as good as him. He was an O-line whisperer, but I mean, we can hope for him to be somewhere even close to him, maybe.
Which is why he's in the Patriots Hall of Fame. But he's still here as the advisor for the Patriots, I think, if I'm not mistaken. But he's not the offensive line coach anymore. He is retired twice, I believe. But Scott Peters, I know for a fact that he tried his best. He's now the offensive line coach for the Cincinnati Bengals. So I think the Bengals offensive line is going to be a lot better than what it once was. But Scott Peters, the offensive line, when it comes to player personnel, was dead awful. Regardless with the coaching and all that, it was the player personnel that really screwed him up. But yep, let's now head over to
right
the
tackle time.
Right tackle time, and I'm gonna start with you, Dustin, and then I'll get to Andy. What are your thoughts on right tackle? Who do you think should be the starting right tackle?
Feeling pretty sure at this point, coming out of the draft, free agency, and all that, probably gonna be Morgan Moses. I mean, he's a wait, where'd he go? I just had him on my list. Do you have him pulled up? There he is. I see him now. Yeah, he's had a lot of experience there at the right tackle. He's bounced around multiple teams, has been a part of multiple systems, has that experience, has that knowledge there. I mean, he's got pretty solid gradings, 80.6, 71, 78 in the overall grades. His run block's definitely showing it better than his they're I'd say they're both about even between his run and pass block. Not too big of a difference between any of them, except for what year was that? 2020, where he had the 70.8 pass block and 85.9 run block. But I mean, he's got a lot of snaps. He's got a lot of time in the league. Got all that knowledge, and from what I'm seeing, he's had some minor injuries. I don't think he's had anything too severe from what I've looked up. I think a couple knee sprains. Yeah, knee sprains. Nothing too major. Nothing that you'd be super concerned about for him to get seriously injured again for anything. I think he just offers you that solid guy at the right tackle spot for that good. I believe he got what was it, a 1-year deal, 2-year deal?
3-year deal.
3-year deal? Dang, I didn't even think
for $24.
$4?
$24.
All right, you can stop with that now.
What?
You can stop with that. We're gonna go buy that insult. Oh my god. He's just got the time in the league.
3-year deal, $24 million. Yep, there you go, Dow.
I think it's 18 guaranteed, if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, continue, Dustin.
It's 11 guaranteed.
He's got that experience. He's got all this time. He's just gonna be that placeholder until he finds somebody that can fill his spot. Not really sure if we have that right now. I don't really feel like we do at this time. Probably get it at some point in a free agency this coming when we get to the new offseason for 2026 and maybe in the draft of 2026. But for right now, he's definitely the solid, sure standing right tackle. As far as I can tell, I just don't see anybody else I'd be comfortable with sitting at that right tackle spot. I think he just gives us that solidified veteran presence, solid in run and block, solid overall grade. He's got the attendance in the games. been a solid starter, doesn't have a too big of an injury history, and the injury history seems to be pretty minor from what I've read. I think he'd be the. I think he's going to be a starter. I do really believe he's going to be a starter. Now, is his age going to catch up to him this season? We don't know. I think is he coming in this season at 33, or is he turning 34 at all this year? I don't know.
He's already 34.
He is 34.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, he's up there in his mid-30s, kind of getting up there. I don't even know if he'll finish his entire contract here. He might end up retiring before his contract ends up. I don't really know the deadline for most offensive linemen, but I do see it right now. Morgan Moses is going to be definitely our right tackle.
How about you, Andy?
Yeah, 100% with you there, Moonshine. I just looked up who Washington's staff were. They had Ron Rivera as their head coach in 2020. I wasn't familiar with either their offensive coordinator or their O-line coach. You just let me pull him up again here. The offensive line was John Matsko.
I don't know who that is.
Offensive coordinator Scott Turner, whom I vaguely heard of.
Scott Turner. He's I think he was the interim offensive coordinator for the Raiders when they let go the other offensive coordinator who was a disaster for the Bears. But
correct, he was with the Raiders from 23 to 24, pass game coordinator and then interim OC. So he kind of knows what he's doing. But yeah, Moonshine, you've got to go Morgan Moses here. He's a proven veteran presence. I mean, you guys both saw him on the field with Will Campbell the other day. I mean, 10 to 15 minutes chatting football, 13 years apart, the rookie and the vet. Morgan Moses' most valuable role will probably be mentoring besides playing. Yes. 100%. And I think that might have been the point I was making with my buddy at work earlier. Vrabel really values mentorship on his football teams, and that's something Belichick just never did. And Parcells was really big on mentorship too. So you've got, like the other day, yesterday, I know I'm going down a rat hole, but we talked about Kyle Williams being praised by Christian Gonzalez. And we've got, Garrett Bradbury and Jared Wilson. We've got Stephon Diggs and Kyle Williams. We've got Morgan Moses and Will Campbell. These mentorships could go a long, long way to bringing the Patriots back. I'm not saying we're going back to the glory days this season, guys, but it is obviously about talent on your football team, but it's also about trust. You've got to have players, and Belichick even said this, I think it was during Super Bowl 36. You've got Super Bowl 51 rather. Oh, geez. Yeah, you guys, you've got to trust each other. And the mentorship, you have players who trust each other, players who trust their coaching staff. And but anyway, I just went down a rat hole there. But yeah, Morgan Moses here. His pass and run blocking have both been fairly solid. His best PFF grade was an 80.6. Again, that was under Ron Rivera. And Baltimore, if I'm not mistaken, those 2 years were both under John Harbaugh as his head coach. Could either of you pull up maybe who the offensive coordinator was in Baltimore at that time, or the O-line coach?
For the offensive coordinator for the first year, it was Greg Roman, but then he got let go and then was replaced by Todd Monken, who was the offensive coordinator for the Georgia Bulldogs. Todd Monken.
Oh, okay.
And then we all know who the offensive coordinator was for the Jets.
We do?
Nathaniel Hackett, and then the guy who we have now.
Yeah, because of Aaron Rodgers.
Nathaniel Hackett.
And then Todd Downing.
The one guy on this staff, I must say, I'm really not too excited about, but that's beside the point. Yeah. Morgan Moses. I mean, you're looking at these numbers. I mean, his first 3 years, he played over 1,000 snaps, and then it was 778 to 723. I mean, that's probably correlated to his age. He's old for an O lineman. I'm not gonna, like you said, Moonshine. It's probably not over the hill yet, but yeah, I definitely think Morgan Moses is going to be our starting right tackle, and that guaranteed money, by the way, was $11 million over 3 years. But yeah, I can't see. Just scroll up. I can't see who those guys are. If you wouldn't mind just scrolling a little bit to the left. Yeah, Vidarian blows. Caden Wallace. Yeah, I honestly hope we keep him on the roster to use as a backup or a swing right tackle. I like that comment of backup. That we carry him as one of our O linemen, but your starter is the veteran Morgan Moses. I'm sorry, I went on a little long there about other crap.
But... No, you're good.
No, that's fine. No, that's fine. Speaking of Caden Wallace, we all know that I think when we drafted him, we tried to transition him from being right tackle to left tackle because we know he went. And guess who the tackle was across from Caden Wallace at Penn State? Guess who it is?
Across from
Shanu.
Oh, I know that name. I can't.
I just answered it for you. It's Olu Fashanu. He's the left tackle for the Jets, and same with Armand Member.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's right.
And I don't know why we drafted him to transition from right tackle to left tackle, but we know for a fact that he played at right tackle in Penn State, and Penn State was really good at the time. So if he plays at his own position at right tackle, the only problem is his injuries and the unknown with Caden Wallace, considering that we haven't seen a full season out of Caden Wallace. That's my only concern. So if there's a possibility, if there's a chance that Caden Wallace learns from under Morgan Moses, we probably might not need a right tackle. But if Caden Wallace regrets at right tackle, then there's a chance that we can head into free agency or in the draft and look for a right tackle, because we know for a fact that Caden Wallace, he would have been a perfect right tackle. But if it wasn't for all of this mindset that Jonathan brings up a good point, Patriots have been switching guys away from their neutral position, and that usually never works out for everyone. Speaking Chukwuekorfor, never want to hear that guy's name again.
But think about it. Outside of Gerard Mayo, who was our coach, basically didn't give a rat's ass about modern NFL offense. His name started with a B and a B.
Double B. Oh my gosh. But
Double B. Oh no. Oh gosh.
No, I don't want to say his name again. I don't want to say his name, but we all know who it is.
We all know who it is.
Because the thing with him is, same with Fred Brown. Remember, he played at right tackle at with the San Francisco 49ers, and then switched over to left tackle for the with the Patriots.
Initially, he played right, and then he was switched to left, and then he came back and played right again. I mean,
and then switched over to the left.
Yeah, again?
Mm-hmm.
He went right to left to right to left?
Mm-hmm.
Are you kidding me?
He replaced Isaiah. He took over for Isaiah Wynn in 2020.
Oh, Isaiah. Oh. Gag me with a spoon. Yeah, let's just not talk about our O-line
debacle.
O-line debacle, exactly.
But yeah,
debacle.
But yeah, but I just don't. It doesn't matter with Caden Wallace. I remember how I used to. We thought that Chukwuekorfor would be our left tackle, considering that he would play at right tackle. He played at right tackle with the Pittsburgh Steelers, and then we all know the whole debacle with him. But I don't want to see that with Caden Wallace, and I just hope that Caden Wallace he becomes like a franchise right tackle. Even though we haven't seen much out of him, he could be, however, our swing tackle for us, because I think there were packages where we have seen Caden Wallace playing at the swing tackle. So, what are your thoughts of possibility that Caden Wallace could play a swing tackle for us?
You want to take that, Andy?
Yeah, sure, I can take it. I kind of pitched the idea of him playing swing tackle. Um, uh, Hayden Wallace, I was not psyched when we drafted him, but again, last year he obviously did not have the best offensive coaching staff, and now he's got Josh McDaniels and Doug Marrone and Mike Vrabel. He could, he only played 129 snaps. Am I reading that right? He played that little.
You wrote it out, but
I did. I made the darn thing, and here I am surprising myself anyway. But
it happens sometimes.
I know, especially after you work with plants and dirt all day, and it's raining, and anyway. But yeah, I would like to, I'd like to see that snap count go up so we can, get a better idea of who Caden Wallace is in his second year in the NFL, and like we just, went through. Morgan Moses, I bet my bottom dollar he'd be the starter, but I would ideally, yes, like to potentially see Caden Wallace as a flex. Yeah, yeah. I mean, let's not mention VL here. But yeah, Caden Wallace is a flex. I'd be down, 100%.
How about you, Dustin?
Yeah, I could. Given some time now that he has a competent coaching staff and a competent person to learn from on the offensive line, if he shows it out in camp and shows it out in OTAs and is able to get some snaps in preseason, which I do believe he will, if he's able to show out what he can learn, I do. Not only do I see him being that swing, I mean, yeah, I can see him being that swing guy, but possibly maybe even that starter for when Morgan Moses finally decides to retire. I mean, if he's got one of the greatest in the game to be able to learn from. He's got one of the greatest in the game. And not to mention, like I've already said repeatedly, I don't know how many times already, I feel like a broken record saying it, but he's got a competent coaching staff. I mean, all of our position guys everywhere, we have competent coaching now. We have people who actually know how to teach people and how to play the positions. What was that?
You
Andy?
said the best in the game, as in whom?
Do what?
The best in the game at what?
One of the best in the game, like having Morgan Moses, one of the best in the game as far as teaching for right tackle. Yeah.
As teaching right tackles. Okay, I know what you mean. Not players, but yeah. Okay, I got you.
Yeah, I don't know if I clarified that. My bad. But
you're good. All good.
I do believe he has what he needs to be able to learn better. Now, just because he has good teachers doesn't mean it's always going to translate. Maybe he just isn't able to comprehend what they're trying to teach him. Maybe it just doesn't. I would hope it wouldn't fall on deaf ears, but it has happened, and it has happened multiple teams. It's happened on the Patriots before where it just doesn't click. But I mean, it's possible. He's shown some minor bits and pieces of him being a competent tackle. It's just he just hasn't had the time to develop in the right tackle that he needs to be. And now if he can develop it, maybe he'll be something. But we're just gonna have to wait it out in camp. I can't really give too good of an opinion on it. Offensive line is one of my weakest points, and as far as like stat wise and just seeing how they develop as a whole. But I do think he has what he needs to succeed. It's just a matter of him actually being able to learn and actually taking the time to learn.
100%. Yeah, and I think we all might have mentioned this during our wide receiver live stream. We're going to need to do this again, either before or during training, or before or after, during or after training camp. Because things might change. Things definitely will change between now and then. And what we could be saying now, maybe a guy gets injured and we're singing a completely different tune. Be it about wide receivers, be it about old linemen, be about give or take a position, give a X position on the defense. It's football. Things happen, Guys could have an unexpected family situation. They could get injured. The coaches could pull them for some reason. NFI. Yeah,
Legal
so
issues, which we don't want out of a player.
exactly. So yeah, we could be singing, whistling an entirely different tune 3 months down the road, but we're just for you guys out there who might be listening or listen after the stream, we're just laying it out for you as things are right now.
So it's reported right now. So this happened at OTA. So the current starting lineup, as during the first day of OTAs, it started out as left tackle, which is Will Campbell. Left guard is Cole Strange. Right center is Garrett Bradbury. Right guard is Michael Onwenu. Right tackle is Morgan Moses. Do you think that would be the best offensive line combination for now?
For now, yes. At least for now, from what we've seen. I mean, training camp can show us a whole different ballpark, but really my biggest concern right now is just that left guard position, just not knowing what we have at a Cole Strange as far as durability is concerned. But as far as like going into the season, if everything stays the way it does, I do believe that's what we'll have as far as like our best possible offensive line combination. It's just Cole Strange is probably my one area where I'm just not sure about. And the whole thing with Garrett Bradbury, I just see it as like the starting for right now. Maybe excuse me. Maybe we get something out of Jared Wilson in camp, or maybe he starts showing more in practice where he's like, where Vrabel just says, you know what, Wilson, you're starting next game. Be ready to get with the starting lineup. I mean, it could very well happen. He's definitely a dog for it. He's definitely showing the ability. But, I mean, as for right now, I want more experience on that line because I want Drake May to have the best protection possible. I like talent, yes, but I also want experience. I want people who have played the positions. I want people playing their positions that they played in. As I've seen in the comments multiple times, I want people playing their positions. I want the experienced guys there, so May has the best possible protection possible, so he can actually make some plays. Now, if again Jared Wilson shows out, he performs great, love it. I just want the experience. Right now, I'm looking at experience. I will give a more solidified answer on all of these guys once we get through like training camp and get into the preseason.
How about you, Andy? What do you think of the initial combination so far, given what happened at OTAs?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, neither Strange nor Bradbury is exactly ideal. At those respective positions, I think we're talking center and right guard, I believe.
Left guard.
Left guard.
Oh, left. Jeez.
Right guard's Mike Onwenu.
Oh boy, right guard's Mike on. Oh my gosh.
It's all good. We're going almost an hour and 30 minutes in this.
And I haven't eaten dinner yet. So yeah, I just, my 2 cents to add to that. I do like having the veterans out there. Obviously having Onwenu, Moses, Bradbury. As much as I'd like to see Wilson start, and as good as he was in college and that combine, that 40, we don't really know who he is yet. He's a kid. He's a rookie. And that goes for, they're all the guys just drafted, including Will Campbell. But he's he is the only, I do agree with that assessment. He is the only no-brainer starter against the rookie offensive lineman. Because other than that, you just don't.
I get a veteran vibe from Will Campbell. I don't know why.
He's young. He's young, but he's mature. I mean, the guy just is.
Yes.
The guy is a dog, and he is a football knower and lover of the sport, and that is exactly what you need for a guy to protect who will be protecting your promising second-year quarterback, hopefully for years to come down the road. So I do like that. So your left tackle is Will Campbell. Your right tackle is Morgan Moses. Your right guard is Mike Onwenu. Your left guard is Cole Strange. Your center is Garrett Bradbury. I just like I mean, and like we talked about potentially Caden Wallace at the flex with right tackle. Use either Wes Schweitzer or could we use one of Schweitzer or Conley as flex? What was it? Was that left guard or right guard? I
I feel
can't.
like they could
remember.
honestly probably do either because from
They
my
probably
my
could.
knowledge, I think right guard and left guard's a little bit easier compared to would be left
It's
and right
easier to
tackle.
flex guards than to
From my knowledge,
than
anyways.
to flex tackles. Yeah, but yeah, I have no qualms about that for now about that starting O line. Obviously, like I said, we could be whistling a different tune in 3 months' time. Who knows? But yeah, for now, if the season were starting now, that's what Vrabel and company should throw up into their offensive line at the protecting Drake May there.
It was also reported that even though that was the initial starting line, there were also moments that the offensive line was later changed due to some players being limited that day. They might subject to change this upcoming Wednesday on the 28th, but it was announced that it was the offensive line combo. You're gonna hear this. It was Will Campbell, Wes Schweitzer, Garrett Bradbury, Cole Strange, and Caden Wallace.
So Caden Wallace at what position again?
Right tackle.
Right tackle?
Caden
right
Wallace
tackle.
at right tackle. Schweitzer at right guard.
At left guard.
Schweitzer at
That
left
one.
guard. Strange at right guard.
I was confused about that, considering Cole Strange
Schweitzer
at right guard.
Caden Wallace at right tackle?
It was reported last Tuesday.
What? Are they nuts?
I mean, maybe they're just trying to see what they got out of him. Maybe see like if like their coaching is whatnot. Maybe they, I don't know. Maybe they're just saying. Maybe they're really just experimenting right now. They're experimenting with different combos to see what they can get the best out of it all positions.
They're throwing spaghetti on the ceiling to see if it sticks. I mean, which you can obviously afford to do in OTAs. Yeah. You don't have pads on, but when
preseason hits, we do not want that.
Not at the start of the season.
We don't want what?
We do not want to see multiple combos. We need to see which combo solidifies by preseason because we do not want any offensive line changes.
We'll be getting that. We'll get this more solidified once we get to the actual training camp. They'll have a better idea of what we actually have, and they'll actually be able to get a more solidified answer on what they want as far as an actual combo.
I trust Vrabel and Marone. They'll be watching those guys like hawks. Well, I don't want to say that sounds creepy, but they will definitely be.
I get your point at least, yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, you get my point. They'll know what they're doing.
Actually, before we log off for today, I just want to read an article that states that how PFF tabs Patriots worst group among most improved during the 2025 offseason, and it has to do with the offensive line. You might want to read this. It says, for years, a segment of Patriots Nation has been banging on the drum about the sorry state of the offensive line and the little Bill Belichick has done to alleviate the situation. Last season, under new management, some attention has paid through not signing, drafting, or having a left tackle were season-ending gaffes, but the players flopped. Then in came Mike Vrabel. The entire Patriots dynamic changed when owner Robert Kraft got it right and hired Mike Vrabel, though it was to blah, 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 blah. Here's what he had to say about the offensive line. Let's accept part of what PFF has to say. He has placed the Pats with the Bears, Vikings, Commanders, and Jaguars as having the most improved offensive lines. And here are the two PFF solid commentaries. Drake May was surrounded by one of the worst supporting casts in the NFL as a rookie.
Change that. The worst supporting cast.
Yeah. And
Can you throw this article up in the main chat if it hasn't been done already? Please and thank you.
I will do that in the Discord at the end of the live stream. But as I'm reading this, it says the front office focused on the offensive line at the beginning of the free agency, signing Morgan Moses, Bradbury, and Schweitzer. The Patriots also picked up Will Campbell with the 4th overall pick, while most of the pre-draft conversation was about the former LSU Tigers arm length. He held up just fine at tackle in the SEC, ranking in the 95th percentile of FBS tackles in the PFF pass blocking grid on true pass sets since 2022. And then he cites addressing the PFF cites Patriots addressing the offensive line of free agents. You could read this at the end, but what are your thoughts on this article, considering of that PFF tabs the Patriots considering the worst offensive line now being the most improved? What are your thoughts on that, boys?
I agree 100%. I mean, we went from having one of the worst offensive lines, not only in talent wise, but durability wise. I mean, we went with the end of the season, we had in the double digits as far as different combos and whatnot. I mean, Jesus Christ, it was so terrible. Now we got some more veterans in the room. Hopefully these guys will show more durability. Besides Cole Strange, hopefully that works itself out, or we get somebody that will be durable. But I digress. I mean, it's just been an improvement all around. Not really just the offensive line, but the whole team in general. But more specifically, yes, the offensive line is probably I'd probably argue either the most improved or second most improved behind the receivers. I mean, it's definitely just wow. I wasn't expecting this in one season, man. I wasn't expecting this in one offseason. I mean, I knew Vrabel wasn't going to play any games, but I didn't think he was going to get this done in one offseason. I mean, we already talking about us going from that 4-13 season the last two seasons to being a 8-9 win team, possibly not going to knock on wood, not jinx it. Possibly, maybe wild card berth. Maybe. I'm not gonna say we are. I'm not saying we are. I'm not saying we are. But it's just with what we got right now. I mean, man, get the training camp. Get the training camp. Get the training camp.
That's training camp. Exactly.
Get the training camp, for goodness sake. I want to see these guys on the field. I want to see them in
exactly.
Pads.
Correct.
On
the field in their, in full football duds, ready to rock and roll.
How about you, Andy? What are your thoughts on PFF tabbing Patriots offensive line to being one of the most improved? What are your thoughts, Andy?
Yeah, I completely agree. The Patriots have an offensive line again, and I think we were one of two other teams. I think it was the Bears and the Giants who were given an A+ grade by, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, it might have actually been PFF. Anyway, was it? Oh gosh, I can't remember, and I'm not looking for the video.
It probably was PFF. It probably was.
I'm not looking for the video now, but I mean, what's the common thread there? I mean, we've got Drake May, the Commanders have Jaden Daniels, the Bears have Caleb Williams. Those three teams all have young quarterbacks they need to protect. We brought in Will Campbell, and we brought in Garrett Bradbury and Morgan Moses. The Bears brought in Joe Tooney and Drew Dahlman. The Commanders brought in Laramie Tunsil. I mean, those are all sturdy offensive linemen. So yeah, I completely agree with DeVito's article here. Back and forth and back with Bill Belichick and Gerard Mayo. I looked it up. I think it was 11 O-line combinations overall last season, something crazy like that. And then in comes Mike Vrabel. I mean, that's just, and Josh McDaniels is back, and we got Doug Marrone in the building now. It's and I was talking about this again with, I'm not betting on pulling a Washington yet, but the emphasized word in that sentence, noticed, was yet, because nobody expected Washington to pull a Washington at this point last year, not even close, and people knew
nobody expected the Texans to do what they did.
People knew who Jaden Daniels was, and people looked at the Texans and said, it's CJ Stroud, and it's Nico Collins, and it's Stephon Diggs, and it's da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. They're gonna be be playing in the AFC Championship game. Look, it was Buffalo and Kansas City again. But it's the NFL. Anything can happen. Anything will happen. But I am, and Austin said in our last stream, I mean, we could go from back-to-back 4-13 seasons to 8-9 and be like, we just won the goddamn Super Bowl. But even said, doubling our win total would be a very, very nice thing to see as a Patriots fan. So shout out to, I think, like I said, his name's Mike DeVito, right?
Yeah, it was Mike DeVito. Yo, we got Connor in the chat. What's up, my friend? He's unfortunately he's a Jets fan who's the host of NY Flight Jets Talk, but can't wait to see you, Connor, in the live stream. But I want to ask you one more question before we log off, and that is, now that we have a better offensive line for the Patriots, does that mean that penalties could be cleaned up? Because we all know that the penalties were a huge issue, regardless of sacks and quarterback hits. Go ahead, Dustin. Do you think that the penalties might be cleaned up?
I do believe so. I don't think it's just going to be because of the players, though. I think it's going to be more on the whole coaching staff side. I think Vrabel is going to be shutting that down. His name's already leaving. Doug Marrone, I think he's going to be shutting that down. I think they're going to be watching them like hawks, like Andy alluded to. I mean, yeah, it sounds stalkerish, but I mean, it gets the point across. I mean, they're going to be watching these guys. They're going to be making sure that they're not going to be causing any penalties. They're going to be making sure that they are going to be doing everything they can if they see any sloppy forms, any like jumping, any sort of like pre-snap motions. They're going to be watching it all. They're going to be acting like the refs out there. The only thing they need to do is put on those zebra stripes and actually get the whistle going. I mean, they're going to be – they have to. I mean, they've already improved so much. They can't stop there. They can't stop now. They got to keep going. So, I mean, they're going to be watching everything these guys do. They want this team to improve. Vrabel wants to see this team improve. We want to see it. The fan base wants to see it. I know dang sure Robert Kraft wants to see it. I mean, they're going to be making sure these guys are coming and they're coming correct. The veterans will also be helping with that too. Caden Wallace, Garrett Bradbury. I mean, he's not a veteran, but I mean, he walks and talks like it. Will Campbell probably going to be helping these guys out.
You said Caden Wallace. You meant Morgan Moses.
Morgan Moses, yeah. My bad. I didn't mean to say that. But yeah, those guys are going to be they are going to be helping these younger guys out with any techniques they might be messing up on, any sort of like pre-snap penalty, any pre-snap motions. They're going to be, they'll be on top of everything. With the veterans, the coaching staff, I do believe this offensive line is going to be cleaned up a lot on penalties. At least it better. It better. With what we got, it better.
How about you, Andy?
Yeah. Again, I know I'm sounding like I'm just, lemmings following each other off a cliff, but, these past few years, I mean, just the O-line penalties stacking up and racking up between Vidarian Lowe and a guy whose name we won't mention. Yep. Initials IW and CEO and,
And DJ.
Oh,
DeMontre
him?
Jacobs.
Oh, who I was actually psyched we brought in last year, but for nothing. Yeah, I definitely think Vrabel will clean that up. And I finally remembered the point my buddy and I made at work earlier. Vrabel doesn't suffer fools. Belichick may have been, a good head coach with Brady, but he suffered fools all the time and refused to pull those shitty offensive linemen. He pulled players who could actually play. I don't want to make myself or the rest of us here puke. Sitting Malcolm Butler in Super Bowl 52. Pulling Kayshon Boutte and Demario Douglas after they showed promise in their basically and
never speak of that again. I will never forgive Belichick for that. I will never
Oh, no.
forget Belichick.
That is one thing I believe 100% of Pats fans will never forgive him for, is sitting Malcolm Butler in that Super Bowl.
I'm sorry, but you bringing that up kind of pissed me off. That
Oh,
I will never forget Belichick.
Oh,
for that.
exactly. I was pissed
Oh,
off.
trust
about
me.
that.
I honestly, Moonshine, you had all reason to walk out. I should not have mentioned it because it is the out of me.
Malcolm Butler is one of my favorite defensive players of all time, and for Belichick to have done that,
it was just like that was a fireable offense right then and there. Anyway, let's just. Belichick is gone, and a lot of Pats fans don't miss him, and that's sad.
Exactly. We don't care about his relationship, whatever.
But it is what it is.
well, I gotta suffer it because I'm a Tar Heels fan, so I gotta suffer it.
Oh, you're from North Carolina?
Yes, I am.
Oh, nice. What
That's
part?
unfortunate.
I'm in Kannapolis. I lived in Kannapolis all my life.
Okay.
It's cool, man. But yeah, the Tar Heels are gonna be. Unfortunately, the Tar Heels, which was Drake May's school.
Someone at my former job actually made this joke, and it made me almost throw up. Saying, how would you feel if with Belichick coming in? How would you feel if he brought in Matt Patricia to be offensive coordinator? I about threw up right there. I about threw up. I was out there like, don't you dare. Don't you dare. Don't you. No, stop that. Don't even make that joke. Don't even talk about. No. Make me fun of. No.
But no, it's I agree that the penalties with Vrabel doesn't suffer fools. He doesn't stand for offensive linemen who commit penalties on every down. He's not going to put up with that crap, and I don't think McDaniels will either. So yes, we will definitely see a cleaned up O-line in Foxborough for the first time in years.
Well, that's gonna be it for today's live stream. I want to thank you, Dustin, and Andy for joining me as always. It's unfortunate that Austin didn't make it, but hopefully he is doing well as always, and hopefully he's watching with us. But as always, thank you as much as always. And remember, before you leave, remember to like, subscribe, and comment down below what your thoughts on today's live stream, and make sure to comment down below what should we discuss next. Should we discuss the running backs and tight ends? Because things might start to heat up with the running back and the tight end position. We can do a smosh there, considering that we can also include fullback. We can do a mashup with running backs, tight ends, and fullbacks.
Yeah, that's an Austin recommendation, because obviously doing one of those positions is going to be too short a show. And Austin, if you're not watching right now, buddy, make sure you give us a watch later on. We miss you, man.
But thank you as always, everybody, and as always, go
Pats!
Go Pats!
And peace out, boys.